Hello there and welcome to this special programme all about the Destination Europe Summit that took place recently in Brussels and brought together all those working in the tourism sector to hear what issues they're facing as we go into the busy summer season. During the event, I had the opportunity to speak to industry, members of the European Parliament and the Commissioner in charge of the Internal Market and Tourism, Thierry Breton. Great to have you with us.
Thank you very much. Very happy to be here.
Well, it's a very important time for the tourism sector, for the travel sector. There's a lot at stake. And I don't want this talk to focus too much on the past, but obviously there was the pandemic. You were at the forefront of that as Europe opened its borders. Was there one lesson, perhaps, that the industry should take away from that?
It's true that the tourism ecosystem has been really hit hard by the pandemic. So we reacted very, very quickly, and I think we could be proud of what we have done at the European level, all together with this Next Generation EU huge package for the first time in our history.
And a lesson learned, perhaps?
And the lesson learned is that everyone understood a big part of this amount came to the tourism, so everyone understood how important is the tourism for Europe. We all knew that.
And when you say the biggest lesson, Commissioner, was that we're better together and we worked together, do you still feel that that is the case? That is the status quo?
Of course, we have done. We have decided for the first time ever in our history that we have now a view of where we want the tourism to be by 2030. We've worked on this. We have discussed. It has been approved by all member states, so we are pretty well aligned.
And what do you think is the biggest challenge, perhaps, for the sector? Is it going green?
Going green, yes, it's important. It's important for all of us, and I know that tourism is playing a big role. Today, for me, I see there's very strong appetite for all our fellow citizens to enjoy tourism activities. When I see the bookings, of course, you know this much better than me, but I think it's pretty good. I'm looking for some of the experts of the sectors. They're nodding. Pretty impressive. And then, since it's pretty impressive, for me today, I think the biggest challenge today is probably skills and people. I'm afraid we don't have enough new talents to welcome and to organize for this important trend that we will enjoy. So it really means to have a deep thinking, and this is why we are.
Well, you mentioned deep thinking. Is there time now for deep thinking as we now go into July, August, which will be peak tourism season?
But that's really probably one of the big challenges that we have now. And of course, then you mentioned it. The green transition, digital transition is also something extremely important. Using the right way data. You know that we are working on the data space for tourism. That's extremely important. It will be finalized very soon.
How will that change tourism as we know it?
But, first it gives a lot of information about what kind of offer you could specialize. Tourism means also that you could finalize a product that you want for you, which is very much important. That's something totally new. The package also, that you can be part of it. But it's also some security also for the tourists themselves, because of course it will harmonize the way, for example, for short-term renting, it will harmonize the way you do it. It gives security. So that's both ways.
You were just in San Francisco.
Yeah. You
were talking tech over there. How did that go, and what do they think of the European plans to regulate AI?
Well, as you know, we don't only regulate AI. We have decided to organize our digital space. That's something also I worked very hard since my first day in the Commission. Our digital space was not organized at all. Some were saying it was a little bit the Far West, especially in social media, and you know what it means. You could have some tragedy also here, so we decided to organize it. It has been quite a journey, but we did it with the DGA for Data Government Act, with the DSA, Digital Services Act, to organize again the social networks, DMA, to have fair competition in it, Data Act, which will be important, including, of course, for tourism. It's important to have rules. It's important for innovation to have rules also. So now we are the first continent to have these rules. So AI is also part of it. We worked almost for the past 3 years on it. Now this AI Act has been position has been adopted by the Council. Position has been adopted also by the Parliament. So we started already the first trilogue a week ago. And of course, it is a risk-based regulation, and it was important for me to explain all this. Of course, we are the biggest continent of the free world in terms of in digital, 1.5 bigger than the US, which is very important. It gives us, of course, responsibilities. So it was my job to explain, of course, to all the players that, of course, everyone is welcome. We are an open continent, but these are our rules, and now these rules will be the law. And I help these companies, not only US, by the way, Europeans and elsewhere, including in Asia, to understand exactly what are our laws and how to be prepared.
And you hope that it won't be outdated by the time it becomes law, the AI?
No, because this is again an horizontal risk base, so it cannot be updated. You could always plug. This is why everything we do in digital, it's horizontal, and you can plug in then a new, let's say, delegated act if we see something new happen. Because you're right, technology could evolve, and we may see new risk. Of course, we don't want to regulate everything, but if we see a risk which will have to be regulated that we don't anticipate now, we will always be able to plug a new dedicated act.
So we have the rules set in stone, and your job will then be the enforcer.
Yeah.
That will also be a challenge.
Well, I'm already the enforcer on the internal market, and that's why that's a very good question, because we design this not as competition tools. We design this as internal market tools. In other words, I'm already the enforcer of the internal market. You cannot do everything. Of course, the internal market is big. That's a tremendous strength of Europe. But of course, you cannot do everything. You cannot import everything. If you import toys, there's some rules that these toys are not dangerous for children. And if not, of course, we will enforce. So I'm already the enforcer of the internal market. And these rules in the digital space are ex ante. So that's an ex ante regulation. In other words, to be able to enjoy the capacity to benefit of the biggest digital market of the world, you need to follow some rules to enter.
And what about companies who are threatened by these rules and they're threatening to leave Europe because of the amount of burdensome legislation?
No one. No one, of course, because it's the biggest digital market of the world. So no one can afford. It's 1.5 bigger than the one in the US. No one can afford not to be. And we welcome everybody. It's true that maybe you mentioned Sam Altman, but he told me that it was misinterpreted. So he changed his tweet and he said, I love the regulation, we will follow, by the way, including on watermarking, which is probably normal. I've been, as you mentioned, a CEO myself. I will never say I don't want to enter into this market because it's too much difficult for me to follow the rules. Rules are rules. Politicians are here to make the rules to secure when we believe it's important the way our fellow citizens are living in this space or that space, and companies are here to follow the rules, and they will. Don't worry, no one will leave. No one. Okay. And by the way, it's good for innovation too. Again, since you mentioned it, when I was a CEO, I operated in more than 100 countries, and of course we had different rules, and I always told to my employees, we need to be good citizens in every country on this planet, and not to change the rules and to say to a government, you have bad rules, change it. You have to be a good citizen, including when you're a CEO. So I know that they're thinking like me, because all CEOs are thinking the same ways.
What about the tourism sector and the travel sector, the role that AI can play in their future? What message would you have perhaps to them?
That's very
bearing in mind that the majority are SMEs as well.
Yes, you're absolutely right. That's a very, very important question. This is why, by the way, you know, when we speak about AI, we basically speak about three things: data, algorithm, and computing power. So that's why we really want to have a data space for tourism, to make sure that we organize us well. Who owns these data? how to organize this data space. It's extremely important. This is why we want to finalize this data space for tourism. Using this data will be a fantastic advantage, of course, for everyone, and especially for the tourism industry, including, by the way, that's the second phase, to develop some specific algorithm focused on tourism. And this will be, of course, part of the job of tourism entities, but also other services companies. And then you need computing power. And you know that in Europe, with Euro HPC, we have developed the largest HPC for supercomputers, high-performance computers. The largest infrastructure in the world, which will allow big companies, small companies to have access to this computing power to develop also their algorithm and the training, again, data on the specific tourism algorithm to develop specific activities. So yes, Europe is and will be a fantastic place to invent new AI application, especially for tourism. We are the first tourism destination of the world. So we are the one generating the largest, biggest number of data in tourism on this planet. So it's very important now to develop these new applications. And with all these, let's say, rules that we have put in place, and it's very important again, as a CEO, I could tell you that it's extremely important to know, to have rules, they will stay, but to have now, finally, visibility. So then your last comment, including SMEs, you're absolutely right. SMEs are extremely, extremely important. That's extremely important for the tourism ecosystem. So here we need to see how we could support, help, including in the digital transition, including to use, by the way, these new tools. We are working now on a dedicated package on SMEs. I think it will be for next fall that we will present it. It's extremely important. It will cover a lot of issues that SMEs have in the tourism industry, including late payment, including many things that hopefully will have less burden also, less administrative burden, and many other things.
Okay, and what's your take on short-term rentals? How can they be better managed?
No, you know, I don't want to go. This is what I said, we discussed at the beginning of our discussion. It's part also of the new way to make tourism. So, and I see that, for example, in countryside, it could be a very nice offer. So I don't want to here to say it's good or it's bad. This is something that is developing. So we need to follow this. But here also, we need to make sure that we could have the quality, that we could have. This is why we will have also some specific data here and a specific regulation. We're finalizing it for short-term rentals, which will be finalized before the end of this year, and then available for the sector, giving more visibility for the sectors, giving more security also for the users, and also being able to develop it using this data. But I really think that this is something which exists, so we need to take this in consideration. But organize it a little bit through data is probably one way to do it.
And Commissioner Breton, what about the geopolitical situation in Europe? It's of course extremely volatile. The sector very concerned about the impact the war in Ukraine has had, and the sanctions, of course. What would you say to them on that regard?
Well, I mean, this is our world. We cannot, not only we cannot change it, but we know that these tensions are and will play an important role, including in tourism, of course. We see this, needless to say, with Russia. We saw this maybe a little bit with China, which is a very big an important country in terms of tourism. So we hope that everything will come back to normal with China. I know that we had some reduction of the number of tourism, but we are welcoming them, of course. But yes, you're absolutely right. That's really something that we have to take in consideration. For us, it means also that, I mean, we are the first global destination for tourism in the world, and we know also that for our 450 million inhabitants, Europe continues to offer a lot of capacities in tourism, and which is maybe not yet totally exploited. So I think that's also something that will be good. Not only, we don't want to close everything and to stay between us. But yes, we have this war. This war is definitely changing a lot of things. We, as you know, we said clearly at the Commission and in Europe that we organize ourselves to support Ukraine as much as we can, and we organize it on the long term, because we, of course, we could have good news, but we see over the past event that there's some. It's always difficult to predict what happened with our big neighbor, and that's why we will do everything we can to continue to support Ukraine against this terrible aggression.
And this continent has lost a lot of Russian tourists, of course. Flows have dropped by 90%.
Yes, it's true that Russia is a big country, 143 million inhabitants. It's not the biggest country in the world in terms of population. This is 10 times smaller than China or India. So we have a lot of other potentiality. But of course, we know that when Vladimir Putin decided to launch this terrible aggression against Ukraine, we had to react.
And do you think we can go green on this continent and reach the ambitious goals and stay competitive?
We have to. We have to. There's no options. No options. And it's true that it's a challenge, but we will be green. There's no other options. That's, of course, the goal of our generation and the generation to come. We will have to. But also, and I keep saying this very often, it's not while restricting our movement or our consumption that we will get our green. Of course, we need to make sure that we can save energy, but it is thanks to innovation, thanks to technology, thanks to science, that we will do it. So in such a huge transition, which is in a way a revolution.
And just back to the here and now, or summer season, in just a couple of weeks, everyone on this continent will be on the move. Is the continent ready for this? Are our airports ready? Our infrastructure?
Yes, I really think so. Yes, I really think that everybody is very excited for that. Everybody is waiting. Yes, I really think that we are ready. When I see the forecast, I was astonished, but it's very good news. So we all have to be ready.
But you remember last summer,
including, by the way, again for skills, and that's why coming back to what I said. If I have one, let's say, not concern, but one point of attention, it is really to be able to hire and welcome the people that we will need to serve the tourism.
So we won't have images this summer on our screens of long queues at airports, strikes by air traffic controllers, people not getting access to car rentals, hotel rooms full. But you will have also the image of tourism going in the countryside, working with their kids, being on the beach. You can see the two sides of the coin, and the one I described is more important. The one you described, you don't describe. You fear maybe. Hopefully, it will not happen. But I know that everyone is working extremely hard for that. Okay, just one final question. What about yourself? Where will you be going on holidays, or what will you be thinking about when you go on holidays?
Usually, what I'm doing every summer, I'm going for 1 week or 8 days. I'm going to walk in a part of France that I like, which is totally a desert, which is La Creuse. You see, they're laughing. And it's true. It's true. Because I don't meet anyone except cause.
I love it. And you can turn off your mobile phone and disconnect from the world.
And I get a lot of ideas when I'm working. But I need to work after 5, 6, 7 hours. Then the ideas are starting to come. So that's what I'm doing every day.
Great. Commissioner Breton, thank you so much for being with us here at the Destination Europe Summit and here on Euronews. A round of applause, please.
Thank you. Thank you all.